So,
welcome to Billboard Dance's live interview with British DJ and producer Joyride. His style has been described as infectious, high-caliber bass house. If you go to parties or raves, there's a very good chance you've heard DJs drop his tracks. You might have heard his name associated with Skrillex and his label Ausla. His track Windows directly influenced Skrillex's Purple Lamborghini featured on the Suicide Squad soundtrack. This month, Joyride released a new track called Damn featuring Freddie Gibbs, earning over 1 million plays on SoundCloud already. So first, let's start with the basics. Who are you and where are you from?
hi everyone, my name's John. My project is Joyride. I'm from London. Recently moved to Los Angeles, and right now we're in Manhattan. We're in Webster Hall in New York. And thanks for the intro. And yeah, for the next 25 minutes, we're going to take some questions. So we have some interview questions. We're also going to take some questions from the live feed. And yeah, that's pretty much me before and after.
Great. How long have you been making music, and what are your plans for the Joyride project?
I've been making music now about 15 years. I mean, it started off as just my father had like an electronic music studio in the house, and it started off with just playing around, after school and practicing and playing with samplers and things, and then eventually I made about 9 tracks, and my father made it for my birthday. He made a CD with my tracks on it, and he had a cover made for me, and my picture on the back, and it was really special, And since then, I've just been making records, and I see Joyride really as I've had a few projects throughout my life, and I see Joyride as that real sort of the way to infuse all of my influences. Is it a little bit close? Go down a second. A little bit, one step down. Yeah, I just see Joyride as a way to use all of my influences throughout my life in one project. My love for films, my love for music, love for dance floor theatrics and stage designs and clothing, culture, everything. So I see it becoming something that people adopt into their lives. Not just in the dance floor, or not just online, or not just as one dimension. I see it as something. I hope it's something that people can become more of a lifestyle thing, with which other artists have similar vibe, similar sound, and it just contributes to a culture. That's really my goal.
Did you always envision a multimedia kind of project for your music?
Yeah, I mean, I've been raised on artists like The Prodigy and Justice, and when you love bands like that, you can't help but be surrounded by the way it looks, and the way it is, and the way it's spoken, and the way it hangs, and the way they wear it. So I guess subliminally I was getting into this mode of creating, and I started creating music video, mostly because I wanted to have I'd see other people's videos, and I'd see these amazing graphics and all sorts of designs, and I never really knew anyone who could make that. Yeah, look, right now I'm going to pause this answer. I'm going to share this to Facebook. Let's do it. Page you manage, Joyride. I'm live on. That's another part of my job. I do pretty much all of my own social media and all the videos and stuff. So I'm not out of place doing this.
Have you always been kind of in control of your image or your brand and the marketing around that?
Yeah, big time. I didn't try to be. I was always just. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't try to be. I didn't want to, predetermine the way it's going to look. I guess it's like a byproduct of learning something. Like I would say, as I was mentioning before, I was watching other people's amazing videos, amazing content, and you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to even approach doing it. You've got who makes these types of videos. You see a music video like Prodigy Smack My Bitch Up, or Justice DVNO. And you're a kid, and you say, how do you even take the first step in discovering the people who make this? And it just started off getting a program and starting to learn how to produce videos and learn how to color things and learn how to edit. And then eventually you realize, you know, like over 6, 7 years, 8 years, you've built a skill set without looking. You've realized now you know how to edit video. You have an eye for, you know, what things can fit where. And so I never really, I kind of always wanted this type of project, but I didn't envision that I would have such a hands-on approach. I thought that I'd get somebody to do it for me, you know, and they'd be my video guy. And I can't say I don't wish for that, because every minute I make doing video or managing these things is another minute I can't be in the studio, you know, writing music, which is always going to be my biggest love. But I think that out of that was born, you know, some really creative, you know, discoveries on my part, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's great to have a sort of this type of project, you know. It's just a surprise to be managing it, most of it myself.
You make something called Swerve House. Can you explain to us what that is?
You know what? It's a
Can you show us what that is?
I can show you, yeah, for sure. Let me just do it now. We're updating Twitter live on Billboard. You see, everyone's got a chip in on this team. Everyone's doing something. We've got people holding the cameras. We've got guys over there manning the lights, getting the questions. I'm doing social media live on social media. How's that? Yeah. Okay. Swerve House. When I first got into dance music in London when I was growing up, it was all about garage. You know, garage music, speed garage and garage. You know, if you came in my school, if you don't know about garage, if you didn't listen to garage, don't come home, don't come in. You know, you can't come to school unless you know your tunes. You know, you could MC or you had turntables or something like that. You had to be into the culture all the way. And one of my best friends, in fact, he now has a very successful TV show based around our history that we went through in school. And now that in America, house has sort of developed a more aggressive tone, you know, artists like Jaws, Ghastly, all these really amazing artists, and there's so many more. I'm just, you know, if I get going, there'll be no more room for the interview. But you know, I just realised how similar, you know, it was to the music that we grew up listening to in school. I was like, you know, like, wow, that's exactly like this, or that's got the same vibe exactly here. So I really instantly felt connected to it. And then when the whole Joyride thing came around, you know, it kind of started out playful, you know, just like Swerve House, because cars swerve, you know, and it's house. So I didn't want to call it deep house or bass house, or, you know, I call it whatever, make people can call it whatever they want, you know. But I thought it'd be funny, you know, like just to tag it on my uploads. And then you know, I had a bunch of different ones, you know. I've got one on my SoundCloud called Brad Pitt House, you know, for example. But this one, I don't know, it's stuck, you know. It's amongst all the comedy, it sounded good, you know. It kind of made sense to the ear, you know, because it's kind of wobbling, and it's swerving, and it's moving around, and yeah, it's good. It just stuck. Felt right.
So you're bringing Swerve House to Webster Hall this Friday in New York, and you're debuting a lot of production. Can you explain to us what the Calling All Writers production is about?
Yeah, I'd love to. Okay, so the difference between a DJ set that I do that many of you have seen me play and this show is this production is a 35-foot wide stage. Is everything alright on the stream?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a 35-foot wide production stage with a real full-size 1968 and 69 Dodge Charger coming out of a car garage on stage, and it's surrounded by two mechanics' garages left and right of it, and the whole system is rigged up with lighting and cryo blast and fire blast, and just all sync with the music and the visuals behind. So it started off back in England when we started Joyride, and I was saying to my friends, you know, imagine how fucking amazing it would be to have a full, proper car on stage, and everything rigged out, the lights would interact with the music, and you know, you just even think about that world, you know, your imagination can go crazy with it. But originally we wanted to stand inside the car, but it turned out to be a problem because the structure of the glass couldn't really hold properly, so we ended up having the full front of the car coming out of this garage. And when you really see this thing face to face, it changes everything. Because these old muscle cars, they're huge, you know, they're massive. You know, they're not, it's like, it's got to be at least 85, 86 foot, 86 inch wide hood. You know, that's this seat and then some, you know. These things are huge, and I wanted to have the front of the car, right down at the front of the stage, so people can really interact with it and touch it. And it's got headlamps in it, which obviously are all in sync with the music and react with the tracks that I play. So when you see it all together and you realise this thing is alive, it's just other world. It's another world, you know. It just takes all this energy that's online and all this energy that's vibe, and it's real. It's in the room, and it's massive, and it's colourful, and it's frightening, and it's intriguing in the same breath, you know. It's really something that I'm blessed to be able to, you know, to do, and also really to be a part of, you know. I'd love to be a part of, I would have settled to be a part of this type of thing in my life, but to be at the, you know, the centre of it, angling it round my music, it really does blow my mind, and it's something that I want to do, you know, as long as I can. And I think that these next events that we have coming up, especially the one here, are really going to shape the way Joyride goes in a live sense. I think that in 15 years we're going to look back on this Webster Hall show and say, you know, a lot happened in that day which, you know, defined the way this project's going to go in a live setting. So it's a very, very crucial time right now for Joyride, and I welcome everyone to come and experience this with us, you know, because at the end of the day we're just passionate people around music, trying something that we haven't done before and many people don't strive to do. So I think it's definitely, I'd love to experience this with as many people as possible in this city.
Awesome. Well, we actually got some fans to submit questions to you on Facebook. So first off, we have Don Germain asking, were you originally going by the name Let's Be Friends? I hear a lot of similarity in the production.
Yeah, I was. I had another project with my partner, my previous partner, Let's Be Friends. And again, another project which was, you know, born out of passion for a culture. You know, we got into bands like acts like Skrillex and Pendulum. Now, Pendulum alone changed the world with their sound. And not just the sound, the music structure, and again, the stage show. You know, they were a live band. They sounded fucking amazing live. And they sounded amazing on the CDs, and the records were completely violent. But, you know, it was all positive vibes. It's a very, very unique blend, you know, when you get something that frightens you and attracts you in the same time, you know. And they had that. So did Skrillex. And yeah, we started Let's Be Friends, and it was going great, you know. And everything about that project was great. We loved it, you know. But projects move on, you know. That's the thing. I mean, I wouldn't have got to Let's Be Friends if I didn't stop doing something else, even before that, you know. And I never planned to stop it, you know. But it's I enjoyed every minute of doing that project, and we met so many people. We learned so much, and it's such an amazing vibe to have done that, and people still appreciate it till today. It's so cool.
Jonathan Russell asks, aside from Mercy, were there any Let's Be Friends songs that were repurposed into a Joyride tune?
Yeah, well, there's only one, really, and that was Hot Drum. Hot Drum, which also just recently came out on Owsla. I wrote this like, I think, the beginning of it, I wrote in the end of 2014. And if you go to my Let's Be Friends Facebook page, you can even find a video of the original track, like in its early stages of when we started it. And you know, it's just one of those things. It's just those core ideas. Sometimes, you know, you know it's going to be good, but because I wasn't surrounded by other artists that Joyride was, it couldn't get that extra push to complete it. It didn't have that surrounding culture to feed off of. Because even if you have so much, guidance or vision in one thing, you still have to feed off your community that you're surrounded by. It's so crucial, to defining yourself is your surroundings. Your surroundings really tell you that last bit about yourself that you might not realise, And that's really why those tracks surfaced as Joyride and didn't as Let's Be Friends. There was no other reason, just Joyride's the culture that it was set in help the tracks find their last bits,
Gary Colbert asks, as someone from the UK, where do you see the scene going, and do you see yourself as part of that?
I mean, cool. I think the scene, it's hard to define scene because everyone comes from a project like Joyride. I think everyone comes from so many different areas, but I think I know how to answer it. I think where everything goes pop, I think that most of this music listeners, what we're listening to now, are going to become individuals, because when you put up a flag and everyone sort of gets together, you realise that all these people aren't from the same town, aren't from the same life. This guy's from here, this guy's from there, this guy has a classical upbringing, this guy has a underground, a rave upbringing, this guy has been listening to, been writing songs, or he's a country producer, whatever, you got all these different strokes of life meeting at the same point, and then they enjoy this for a few years, and then they disperse, and then they go off and do individual ideas, So I think that the scene is going to break up into individual, I hope it does, individual creative works, like I'll be doing things with Joyride, with the cars, and other artists will be taking their themes and their ideas and going deeper into their world, It's an amazing thing to have an appreciation as a genre, as a scene. But if that's a scene circle spinning, and you can start your own circle, you can touch that and then take people into it, you know what I mean? And then it's just like an extension of the original connection that you had. And I see that, I just see people breaking off into their own modes, and then probably in like 5 years or something, some new hot sound will come around, and all the same cats from this genre will go pow and jump on that and bang out a bunch of records like that. That's normally that's what I think is going to happen, at least.
Louis Phillips Rose asks, have you got any plans for an album?
Is this mine? I'm going to get to your question soon.
Yeah, it is.
Is this mine?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry, again.
Do you have any plans for an album?
No, not a full album. Because generally it takes so long to write an album, by the time you finish it, you find it very hard to, at least for me, I find it very hard to relate to the original work, It's like, if you wrote a tweet and saved it and expect to post it next week. Still you, but maybe you don't agree with that opinion anymore. Maybe you don't want to say that anymore. Maybe you don't want to voice that, description of yourself. And part of I think the beauty of the way Joyride's been unrolling is that it's like I just create something and wait till the last, till it looks right to release it and put it online. I know that's not going to be all the same way forever, so I'm starting with an EP. I have an EP coming out next year on Owsler, and it's going to be 3 tracks. Hey, it might be 4, but from what I just said, it's probably going to be 3. I mean, I've got the tracks, pretty much done. I just like to keep everything very current and very spinning, so I write records in between making records. So not making an album, but yes, on EP.
Mitchell Crump asks, for someone who's known very well for bass house, how do you keep the genre fresh?
I think it's like keeping if you fuck with people outside of your own gene pool, you're not inbreeding, and vice versa. I think it's important that even if you love something so much and it's really precious to you, you've got to it turns from what I like and I want and I to a responsibility. You have a responsibility to keep people who now enjoy this. You want them to be proud of a scene that's up to date and fresh, and in order to do that, you have to fuck with things outside of your gene pool. You know, so I personally love garage, so I write some garagey ideas. I like hip hop, so I write some hip hop ideas, some trap stuff, some some general, and I suppose the art is really masking it as Joyride, keeping it still within the boundary that people can still, call it a Joyride record. And I think that's important. I think that keeps everything fresh. It keeps everyone wondering what's next, where's it going to go? Because once you realise the limits of something, that's sometimes the death sentence of it. Especially if its whole life was based on hope and surprise and wonder and wondering where it's going to go and what's next, how big can this go, or something like that. So I think it's forcing myself to work with new tools, at least different tools, which sometimes people don't like. I think that's an important way to keep it fresh.
Will Argetta asks, do you have any dream collaborations?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, obviously, the basics, everybody knows it. You've got your Skrillex, you've got your Pendulum, you've got your Prodigy, Justice, Flostradamus, but, all of these classics aside, I'd love to work with some UK, grime artists. Not even grime, like hip-hop, urban, like Stormzy, Skepta, Wiley, people like this, Gets, Rue Kid, well, Gets. But it's that whole area of music really excites me. In England right now, they've got this really good sound going on, and obviously it's not a coincidence, because I'll be the first one to tell anyone when I'm not happy about the music that's coming out of England. I think everyone in England is very comfortable to say, oh no, it's not good now. But right now, there's a lot of good energy coming out from that crowd, and I think it'd be a good fit. I think it would work. It's not the same mechanics, different type of BPM, different type of instruments, but same attitude. Also artists like Bauer, amazing acts. I'm sure something amazing would come out of that.
And Aman Bari asks, what's your dream car?
Wow. Okay, dream car, easy. It's a Chevy Nova. 71 Chevy Nova. It started off, this whole fascination with this sort of, kind of mean muscle cars started off with movies like Death Proof, and I don't know if many of you have seen that, Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. But it's amazing, like it just has this bulldog of a car. It's kind of smaller, matte black or primer coat. And I just saw it, and like, you don't need to understand anything else about it, just like, that's the one. I like that car, that's amazing. It just looks great to me. I see, like, actually I wanted it for the stage, to be honest. I wanted my stage to be a 71 Nova, but it's small. It's a little bit smaller, So we found one in LA, and we looked at it, and I said, first I didn't want to damage it for the stage, but it's just a little bit small. I think that'd be great for me to own, but it didn't work on the stage. But yeah, one day I'm going to have that. Right now all my energy and all my money, all my energy is going into Joyride. But one day I'll get my Nova, for sure. Yeah, cool. I mean, how long have we been going now? How long have we been going for?
Well, we've been going, but you have a few questions. People would love to know about
sure.
your production. What do you work on? What do you start with?
Yeah, well, cool. I mean, I'm running out of percent here. If you want, let me just... The questions. these on the Billboard one?
Yes.
So let's go over there. Let's put some tunes on now. Alright, cool. Okay. So Kelly says, this is from Kelly, in your production, what comes first, the beat, the sound design, or samples? I mean, you know what? It's mostly just the ideas, you know, like sometimes I hear, you know, like a cool sound, a cool sample or something, and he's like, oh, I have to do something with that now, you know? Like, it's like, if I don't do it now, I'm going to forget it, or I'm not going to write it down, or someone else to do it, so I start like that. Sometimes, you know, after, for example, I wrote Windows, the day after we released it, I said, I got to make a house record, you know? I got to do something like completely 4/4 house. And I started, you know, I just started out and that turned into Fuel Tank. So sometimes it starts from a need and want to do one genre, you know? And sometimes it starts from, you know, just a central idea. When I have like a blank canvas, normally I get into rhythm. I start with rhythm. I start drawing, you know, drum loops and scratch sounds and whip sounds and vocal, you know, not the most original dance music, you know, thing, vocal chops and stuff, but, you know, it gets you going, gets it started. Let's see what else we got. Death Proof is awesome, Joshua. Death Proof is fucking awesome. He said, Elsler, good boy. Any other genres you're planning to have your own touch on soon? Okay, it's from Mate. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. You know what? Yeah, I want to do a jungle record soon, or drum and bass or jungle. But I have a lot of respect for that whole world, you know. So I'm not banging out crap jungle records or drum and bass because I know that if you go over to that world, come correct, come with respect, you know. So I've got a few ideas that they're getting there. I mean, I've been listening to it all my life, but that's where I'd like to go there this year, next year, 2017. Are you coming to the UK in 2017? I am coming there. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say where yet, so I'm not going to say, because I don't want to make everyone who loves me mad at me. But yep, I'm coming. What else? How did artists such as, this is from, wow, I'm picking the easiest names to pronounce it. Rees? It's R-H-Y-S, Riz. How did artists such as Knife Party recognise you back in the other project, as these days it's hard to get music recognised? Well, I think, you know, we set out to, clearly if you listen to Let's Be Friends, we had a massive influence from Knife Party and Pendulum, you can hear that. But we set out to infiltrate the world, like to get into the DJ sets of the artists that play Knife Party records, you know? And also the fan base, of course, but it was mostly, we wanted, back then it's slightly different to today. Each market, you know, this type of thing changes every couple of years, you know? Different platforms go up. Back then there was no Spotify, there's no Apple Music. So, you know, the playing field has changed now. You can have a record on Spotify go viral, and that's how you get noticed, you know? You can blow up like that, but I think it's mostly putting it in the center of its, you know, its culture, you know. If you make a Knife Party sounding record, don't make a Knife Party sounding record and get it out to, you know, Colombia or to here and there, looking for someone else's life. You know, don't let that track live someone else's, you know, in path. I think you should put it where it belongs, and that's where people will enjoy it. And then from that, you know, you'll gain instant recognition, not just for, you know, your production skills if you have them, but also for your taste in music. You know, that goes a long way. Sharing something, you know, the best impact of anything is when you share it, you know, with people like yourself. Will you ever switch it up and make dubstep tune? You know, I want to make a dubstep tune. You know, I do. But again, it's one of those things that you need to come when you're ready. You know, like I can open up presets now and knock together a dubstep tune, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think it's something that when the project's grown to a point where it's like, yeah, that's right. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. When people can say, I knew it was going to happen, that's when it's right to do like a dubstep tune. So that's around the corner. Will you ever make a track? We're going to have to wrap up in a second. But will you ever make a track with Jaws or Gus? Yeah, probably. You know, we're friends. We live in the same city. But and they'll be the first ones to tell you, you don't see your friends much when you tour. When it all starts out, you're knocking around in bedrooms and in lofts and attics, and you're banging out tunes and you're banging out records, and everything's so simple. But as soon as you start touring, which is great, you start to meet your fans, you get to perform for them, you have a little less time for writing records together and all that thing. But I'm sure we're going to make it happen one day. But there's so many questions here, and I want to say thank you for everyone who came through to comment and ask questions, and who came through to watch. And if you are coming out to New York, to the New York show, I can promise you, you're gonna see something that you'll remember for the rest of your life, because it's something that we've been working on for all of ours, you know. So really just want to thank the guys here at Webster Hall, the guys at Billboard for doing this. And cool. Unless there's anything else you wanted to close with?
Yep. Thanks for tuning in tonight to Billboard Dance for our chat with Joyride. If you're in New York City this Friday, you can see him in action at Webster Hall. Look out for more from him in 2017.
Nice one.